Yeah, well, it looks like it happened again. My wife was out on her walk, and this is what she found on the side of the road. I think it had fallen before. It made a handy way to lay it down in the back of the truck. Anyway, we'll drag this thing out and see what's up with it. Okay guys, so here's this curb find that turned up on the curb in my neighborhood again. This is one of the tall ones, and it's kind of got a wicker type surface. I couldn't find a name on this. I'll probably find it in a little bit. You can see it's fallen over several times. The way the top is all bent up. That's how these things kind of do. They get a gust of wind and those things act like a parachute and pull them right over. So anyway, we're going to take a look and see if we can find out what's wrong with this. I've kind of done one of these before. We'll see if it's a similar type of thing. I've noticed a couple of things. One of them is that this gate is open, so I guess the igniter wasn't being trustworthy to light it. They've been using a flame stick to stick in there and start it. The other thing that's kind of interesting is, you know how you have to hold this in to ignite the pilot. It looks like somebody's put tape around here, and I don't know if that's meant to just kind of like hold the button in. So it makes me wonder, maybe it's a similar problem with that tilt switch. Anyway, we'll get into this thing and see how it does. First thing I'll do is hook up a propane tank down here, and we'll see how it does, see if it does the same kind of thing. And I'll get that top off of it because it's just in the way. So hang on, let me get the tank hooked up. Okay, so we'll turn this to on and hold the pilot in and let the gas get up the tube. I'm going to hold it for a bit so the gas will run up there. Okay, guys, going around on bikes again. Okay, and we'll see if it'll start. No, don't see anything happening. Looking right in here. Look there, we got a flame. So I'm getting piezoelectric, and I had a little bit of flame coming off of the gas that was still in the line. So now that I can get to where I can see this, let me get this thing back up vertical and see if we can get something happening on this. It needs to be vertical because there'll be a tilt switch in here. If this thing falls over, like in this position, it'll kill the gas. So let me get this stood back up vertical, get the tank back in, and get to where we can take a look at what's going on there with the pilot. Okay, we got the tank on. Let's see if we can get to where we can see the pilot. You can see it right there. I don't know if you can see it, but it's a nice clean looking pilot. So let's turn the gas on and see what we get. Need to not light this bush I'm around. I may need to pull it away, but let's just see if it'll light and low. Pilot went out. The pilot's lit. Hold it in for a second. It looked like I got a bunch of gas noise came through there, but then it kind of, the pilot went out. Okay, the pilot is staying lit. And when I turn it to on, the pilot turns off. Let's go back and light it again. So the pilot's lit. Pilot stays lit. Now the time is lighting. Okay, I'm going to burn the tree up here. Okay, it seems to be working right now. I have a feeling it's got an intermittent problem though. May need to just take this all apart and clean it, maybe clean the pilot tube out, clean the burner assembly out. But it's got a nice blue flame. It doesn't have like a problem with oxygen getting into it. So let me just take it apart and clean it up and see if that doesn't help the reliability. See, it just went out again. Just messing with this switch. Pilot's lit. Okay, it's working. Okay, we'll get this, let this cool off a little bit, and then we'll take the burner assembly, clean that off, get in here and look at the pilot tubes and see if they're clear, and then put this back together again and get it away from this bush and see how it works. So hang on. Okay, so it's been a few minutes. Let's start taking this thing apart and see what we see inside. The other reason we need to get this off is I want to take this off, and it won't come off with this on here, so I need to strip that off anyway. Okay, let's see what we have here. Not much, just a big chamber. These holes that have a mesh on it. Some rust debris. Alright, so now to get this off, yeah, I was thinking that was going to come off this way, but it doesn't. Alright. I guess I could have left that on there. So let's go ahead and go after those. Okay, here you can finally get a better look at the burner assembly. So here's the pilot. There's a couple of adjustment screws that are available here for the gas flow and the oxygen mixture, I guess. Here's the valve assembly back here. And just so you know, you don't need to take this burner off, although this might be a good idea because other ones I've done, you've had, you know, like spider webs and obstructions and so forth down inside of this area in here, which was causing problems with a yellow flame. So you're probably worthwhile taking this apart and cleaning it every once in a while. It did mess up some of these screws, but you know, these are not critical service things. And we just get some replacements to put on that, but we can get this cleaned up too. All right, there's that dump switch I was talking about. You saw that in one of my other videos where this was a problem. I may just double check to make sure this one's okay, but I got a burn a while ago, so it must be doing okay. I may check to make sure it disconnects. Okay, so one of the first things I'm going to check is this dump switch right here, make sure it still works. Now it's it obviously did something because the burner did work, so the switch must have been working. But I'll make sure it's not intermittent and causing this thing maybe to shut on and off and so forth. It could very well be. So let me just see. It was held on by the nut that was holding the front on, so it's loose. You can notice that the switch needs to be oriented like this to where this call it a mushroom cap if you will be pointing up when this thing is installed, right? So let's take a look at the switch and see how it operates. So this switch, if you didn't see my other video on this, is designed to cause a voltage to drop out should this thing fall over. And that causes the valve assembly to shut off the gas flow. So what we want to do is verify this switch that's in here is working properly. Well, I don't have to get them both off. Alright, let me get my meter. Put that to continuity, go to mode for beeping. There we go. Alright, so the switch should provide no continuity when it's upside down, like the way it is right now. But when I turn it upright, it should close the switch and cause it to beep. It is, but I wonder if it's got a continuity problem. Intermittence. So I've got it connected there, and it's not doing it. Okay. So that switch should be reliably beeping right now, giving continuity. This switch is dirty, and it needs to be cleaned. So this is like the other one that I worked on. So I'll get this apart, and we'll get this thing cleaned up, and we'll see if that doesn't make this whole thing more reliable, because that's probably what that is. And I'll show the cleaning a little better than I did in the other video. So let me get my goodies, and I'll be right back. Okay, so what I'm going to do is show you how to clean this switch a little bit better than I did last time. So I also talked about the equipment you need and fluids and so forth. So I mentioned in the other video that a business card is perfect, and it is. In this case, I'm just going to use an index card, okay? Same kind of, just cardstock, okay? Whatever's cheap and laying around, something a real estate person has shoved under your door would be perfect. Okay, and the fluids, you'll see in some of the other videos I use a lot of different types of cleaners. I've got some of these. I'm just going to start with the most basic, which this is not, just to see if it's really necessary to go to the expense of getting these things. This particular one is a type of cleaner, but it also has some lubricant in it. So you use this on like control switches and things that not only are for making good contact, but also there's going to be some lubricity requirements for it to slide over it, like potentiometers or switches and things like that. This is what this is really for. And there's other ones that do this kind of thing, like deoxit. I just prefer this one. They make another version that's contact cleaner, and you can also get something similar to this at hardware stores or auto parts stores. CRC, contact cleaner, and so forth, and that is probably what I would normally use for this, because it doesn't need lubricity, but this is not what most people would have on hand, but I mentioned that you could probably use alcohol, so I thought we would try to clean this one just some cheap 70% isopropyl alcohol. I have 99% that I use for cleaning circuit boards, but this is the basic stuff you'd find at a grocery store or hardware store or something, or I should say like a Walgreens, and we'll just see how this works, and then you don't have to go to the expense of finding some particular contact cleaner. Okay, so let's get this taken apart. Which one of these goes where does not matter. And here inside there's a ball. And so when it's in this position, the ball is pushing down on a contact. Sorry, there's a ball in here. When it's in the vertical position, gravity acting on the weight of that ball pushes that switch and makes contact. If this falls over, the ball falls away and the contact is allowed to open up. That breaks the continuity of voltage that comes from the thermocouple in the pilot light assembly. So the thermocouple is bimetallic. You put heat on it, and it actually generates a small voltage, and that small voltage is enough to operate a little solenoid in here that allows the valve to operate. If this is in the vertical position and this is shut, then that allows that operation I just described to work. But if this thing falls over, it breaks the connection here. That causes this to drop out and makes this thing shut if it's in the pilot light position or if it's on. So if this thing is on in full blast and a wind comes over and it knocks the thing over, it shuts the gas off. Now, that's what you want. Don't disable these things, okay? But what's happening with this is that this has probably become such an intermittent, dirty connection that it keeps shutting on and off, shutting on and off. And as a result, somebody put this out to curb, okay? Let's see if we can fix this. Okay. Alright, so we got that out of there. So now what we're going to need to do is this has got a couple of little catches right here that you open up. There's one here, there's one here, and this screw can stay in for right now, and you'll see this allows this to just kind of hinge down out of the way. Should do. Oh no, you pull this out and it allows it to hinge down out of the way. So we'll go ahead and do that. Using that feature really helps when you put this back together again. I can't tell if you're focused, I apologize. Alright. Take that screw out. Okay, now what we'll see is there's actually a pin inside here that the switch is pivoting on, and that can pivot down out of the way. Okay, and so that will help later on when we go in there and trying to reassemble this little switch in here. It's got a couple of pins. We'll get into that in just a sec. So let me get this opened, if I can do it without shoving this thing right up underneath my fingernail. I'll tell you what, I'm going to go get something to do that. I don't want to ruin my day. Hold on.
Now hopefully this will work better. Okay. Okay, that one's started. And like I say, there's a ball in here that's going to fall out in just a minute. It's up here on top.
There's a ball, a switch, and a lever. Okay, we are in. Alright, so there was that pivot point we were looking at right here that this thing pivots back and forth on. See that? Okay, here you can see the whole operation. So the switch, this is the micro switch, and there's the little button that pushes, and that's what makes and breaks the switch right there. Okay, if you can see that, that's what makes and breaks the switch. This is the lever that the ball pushes on. So if you take this and the ball pushes down on it, it comes down, this is up in this position, and it says, okay, be closed. But if it falls over, the ball drops down in this little chamber, then the spring in here pops this back out, and now the switch is open. So let's get this and clean this up, and we'll see what that looks like. You can tell by looking at this ball, it's been out in the weather a lot. And that's probably what's happened to the contacts. Okay, this little guy has a couple of tabs that ride in some little sockets. There's one there, and there's another one right there. And they're a little bit difficult to get lined up when you put this back together again. And we'll go through that again. So that comes off. That. And the switch comes out. Okay, so here's the switch itself. And that's the on-off. Now when you're in here, we're going to open this up and you're going to see the contacts. Now there's a small spring in here that it's going to try to get away from you. So if it drops, you're going to need to be thinking about how am I going to find it. So anyway, let's see what we can do here without losing it. Okay, let's see, this body's coming apart just by pulling on it. Okay, I see the spring. It's right next to my thumb. Alright, so here's the action. And maybe you can see this. Come on, focus. Please. Anytime? Okay. Alright, so there's the contacts right here. And as I move this, you'll see this bit here move, and there's where the contacts take place. I'm going to put my thumb over the spring here just a little bit. Now you can see that contact operating. That switch in there is what's dirty. Now we need to clean that. Don't use sandpaper on this. These are probably flash coated with gold or something like that. And if you use sandpaper or a file, like, you know, this isn't the points on your car, all right? You'll take that off and it'll ruin the switch, okay? And you have to replace it. What we're doing here is not going to cost any money at all. Okay, so how do you clean that? Let's set this down for a minute. And let me take a strip of this index card. Like that, okay? And now I'm going to get this wet with just alcohol. So this is just isopropyl alcohol, guys, okay? Just got something in here. Toss the rest of it out. Okay, so now what we're going to do is pick up the switch, and the point that we want to get into and clean. Okay, come on, focus. It's right in there. So we're going to go in here, slide the piece of paper in between the points, press the switch closed, and then just move it back and forth. You have to push it hard. Okay. So there's just a small amount of dirt there. It's not very much. The other one I worked on had a lot more dirt on it, but it was completely dead. And this one works a little bit. So it was just beginning to go bad, but it was intermittent and causing a problem. That's why somebody probably chucked it. Shall we see if this works better? Let's see. Okay. Okay, is continuity working? Okay. So we'll go into this terminal. Okay, well, that's not making a very positive contact. Not as much as I'd like to see. Okay, let me try that with contact cleaner and see if it does better. So this is the contact cleaner. Now let's see what this does. I'm not getting good continuity in my tester. There's something wrong with my test leads. That should be working. Let me get another meter. Let's try this old standby. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to go here and here. Good continuity. Okay. So if I pull back here and here, come on. There. And here. And hit the switch. Okay. The switch is working. I was having some kind of problem with my leads on the other meter, so this is working fine. So the switch is now acting very reliable. Let me just switch the leads and see if the leads are the problem or if this thing here has got a low battery on it. See how this works now. Okay, that's good. So now let's see how we work in here. Very good. Very reliable. Okay, I think that's probably all that was wrong with this. I suspect the alcohol enough was clean, and that was when I saw a bit of the dirt come off. I did follow up with the other contact cleaner, but I didn't see any additional dirt come off really. I think this is all it was. As you can see, that's working really well. So let's figure out how to get this back together again, and then we'll reassemble it and see if everything works pretty reliably. Let's see. Alright, to put this back together again, we need to put the cover back on the switch. Is that it, or is it the other way around? Let's try it. Okay, that was the right way. Just slips right on, no problem. Alright. Give these contacts just a little bit of rubbing down with the alcohol. Okay, so now we need to assemble it in the ball housing, if you will. Okay, this is a little tricky. So what you do is there's a pin here that the switch pivots on. So you align that hole. What am I doing? This has to be like this. And wait a minute, that needs to be like that. No, it needs to be like this. Correct. So that pin is like this, and this will swivel into that position. Okay. This little lever has two ears on it, and it goes into a little socket right in there. There's a matching one on the other side. You leave that screw out so you can tip this out of the way and remove the tension on that. So now you drop the ball into there. Okay. Now you want to put this other half on, and you need to get that ear to line up with the mating socket on this one. So maybe with a little bit of luck. Let's see. See, there's resistance from these little snaps that are kind of in the way. I'm going to go ahead and engage the one on top and see if that works. Top's engaged. And now, let's see here. So you can kind of see up inside. Don't want to force this. So you swing that switch out of the way, you can see up inside of there, and if I just nudge that a little bit, looks like that's it. Squeeze those side together to that side, and now that's in the right position. Then I can put that screw through there. Now normally I would test it one time before I do, but let me go and get it in here. That'll keep this from pivoting. Okay, so you can hear the ball in there rattling around. So let's see if it works. Back to this guy. Continuity. Yep. Okay. Put that on one of them. Doesn't matter which. Put this on the other one. Okay. So if the thing is laying on its side, there's no continuity. If you stand it upright, what do you know? That's what you want this thing to do. So as you tip it up, the ball drops down, pushes down that lever, makes the switch operate, gives continuity, and that allows this thing to get power to the little electromagnet in the valve assembly. All right. Let's get this all back together. Let's get this all back together again now. Okay, let's put this back together. Now, of course, I've forgotten how it was. So this is going to go on here like this, and this needs to be in a position like this, right? Because I've got this upside down, and I know that these came in from this angle, so that needs to kind of go like that. Now, when I had the flame going, it looked like it was nice and blue. I didn't see any issues with, you know, fuel or oxygen starvation. And I looked down inside of the tube and I didn't see any spiderweb issues. So I don't think there's much I need to do on that. Just snugging this back. Okay, so now that is going to go on here. Well, you can't see what I'm doing. You're not watching. Sorry guys, so what I did a while ago when you weren't able to see is I was trying to figure out how this had to go. And so what I did was I knew the bracket was on here like this. And so then I just looked at how this had to be arranged so that this would point upwards. That ways up because this is all upside down. That would need to be pointing upwards. And then the connectors came in from this side, so that's all that did. All right, let's get these connected. See, it doesn't matter which one goes where. All right. I think honestly this is ready to go back together again. It's going to work just fine. So let's put this back together and see how she does. It won't really work, okay, until this is in the vertical position. So we have to reassemble this and see how it does, okay? Now it's time to get this thing stood back up, and we'll see how she does and move it away from the trees this time, right? Pilot lights here. Turn this on. Okay. The pilot light burning. Count to a few seconds. 20, let's say. Okay, I counted to 20. Just going to release the pilot and see if it stays lit. Okay, it's still burning. All right, let's go to low. Let's go to turn on. Look at that. It's a thing of beauty. Okay, let me get the other assembly on top of this. Let's deal with this lid, huh? Now, it's never going to look right, and but it needs to work a little better than it is. I don't really care how it looks as long as it works as a reflector and keeps the rain off of it and so forth. So I'm just going to try to push it back kind of where it belongs. So we'll just see how this goes. Okay. Let's see how she does, right? Pilot light. Pilot light's burning. I think you can see that on the left. Little blue flame here. Actually, the failing light is working out just perfect. So now you can see it a little better. Okay, we're gonna go to on. And there's on. Nice blue flame, no yellow. It's got good air circulation through it. And I'm going to go ahead and go to high. Look at that, guys. Okay, let's take you down and back you up. So there you have it. This thing is about 7 feet tall. Like 7.5 feet tall, and you can see how red that looks. And yeah, I can bend the hat up a little bit and make that look a lot nicer, but I need to take it apart anyway so I can put those extra screws in it and put the screws around the sides, button it up. But once again, this was a problem with the tilt switch that was in there, or the dump switch as it's shown sometimes, and it was intermittent, and the thing would kind of just shut off. And that was why this thing was obviously put to the curb. These things are expensive, actually. I was amazed. I was looking at these online, and the ones that are for sale that are all in stainless steel, brushed stainless, I mean, they're not expensive. They're a couple $100 maybe, or $120, depending on the model and so forth. But I saw another one that was wicker, like this one. It was over $1,000, and so it's all the same internals, but it's the style, I guess, you pay for. But anyway, somebody put $1,000 heater out at the curb for the one of just cleaning that little switch, and you saw how easy that was to do. So I hope this helps you. Have fun doing it. This thing's putting out a tremendous amount of heat, and appreciate it. Thanks. Talk to you later. Bye.